Beautiful gents, I'm so glad I could be out here with you guys today. I have a couple of questions about SMA that I think that only y'all would be able to answer as the founders. What is SMA, starting out actually?
So Scott McAllen, which we call SMA for short, is a two-tiered kind of a company. We've got a angel fund, which is Scott McAllen Holdings, which we make investments in small startup companies that are looking to grow and looking to get to that next level. And on the other side of that, we have Scott McAllen Management, which we bring in the resources and the expertise and the experience to those small companies and offer them to get them over that chasm into the next level or get ready for that next Series A raise or even a seed round.
Yeah, I view them as Scott McAllen companies as an entity, as with a single entity with two divisions or two legal companies underneath them. But the overarching point of both of them is to accelerate innovation, and that's accelerating innovation. We started with the defense sector, where we both come from, but we also now have expanded that to business to business, business to consumer, and other even non-governmental markets. So the bottom line of both of them, the common denominator of both entities, is accelerating innovation.
That's beautiful, and I think that is a really intentional space of obviously with the business that you guys are trying to conduct. Having an angel fund and or having that consultancy should be for the space of betterment for businesses. I guess my next question in that would be, what is something in y'all's experience as not only being able to consult and speak towards business, but also being able to invest? What is something that investors actually look for that founders don't realize?
Good question. I think that's very dependent on the investor. Some investors are looking for the talent, the team that's put together. Some investors are looking for the idea, the product they're trying to develop.
Right.
And others are looking for anything out of the norm sometimes.
I think that 100% agree with that. And I think the other part of it is everybody we talk to has the best widget or the best service ever. One of the things that I think a lot of folks are missing is understanding that just the human dynamics of buying, we don't always buy the best. For example, McDonald's doesn't make the best hamburgers. They make the most convenient hamburgers. They make the best marketed hamburgers, and so on. So a lot of people are very target fixated on their specific product, but fail to see the bigger picture that cemeteries are full of products, really, really good products that just weren't marketed and weren't convenient to use.
That makes perfect sense. And I guess moving that to an internal perspective as founders, what does working with you inside of this space actually look like?
Again, I think that's it's layered because we look at it as an investment opportunity, and we have clients that we don't invest in. They don't need money; they need talent, they need input. But we look at it as get to know the owners. Our goal is not to take their company over. Our goal is to bolster what they've got in place and add to their team and add to their capabilities. And I think a lot of the times it's, what do they need? What pieces are they missing? What's keeping them up at night? And can we see a pathway to help them get there? If we don't see a pathway, then it's a difficult, discussion. But almost always it's they've gotten somewhere and they just need a few more pieces of the puzzle to get to that next destination.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think we, at the very beginning of this, we decided we didn't want to be dumb money. We didn't want to just be money that here's a check and we'll talk to you in 5 to 10 years when you exit or when you have a transaction. We want to offer value added, and we do offer value added services. Between our two backgrounds of Kenneth with 10 plus companies as an entrepreneur, me on the federal side, military side, turned entrepreneur, we think we have a unique value proposition to bring to companies, and we can sit down and we can talk collectively because we often speak with one brain, and we can offer value-added services. And we've been through, I think that's one of our greatest attributes, is we've been through what they're going through. We have a client that was hit a rough spot and thought they had to shut down. And we were able to understand what the situation, understand the emotion, but also understand the tactical, operational, strategic steps necessary. And so we're able to have a few conversations with them and identify under contract nearly $1 million, which we're able to keep the lights on for them, and the company's still open today.
You're not only benefiting from our successes, what you're really benefiting from is all of our mistakes and missteps and all those things that we can hopefully guide you through some of those pitfalls, because we've been there. We've been in the sleepless nights. We've been in front of a whiteboard trying to plan out the next move, looking at the cash flow, going, how do we get to next month?
Can't make payroll.
Can't make payroll. How do we do that? And we got through them all. And they all seem like ending occurrences
Right.
when they're happening. And the reality is most times they're not.
I guess speaking to that from both y'all's personal backgrounds, obviously you guys have had 20 plus years of innovation and education when it comes to the spaces y'all are in. I guess let's speak to some of y'all's prior experiences, and then also based on those, how that's translated into Scott McCallum coming forth. How is Scott McCallum effectively a vision of something that you would have looked for in your earlier entrepreneur days?
Really good question again. And the point was, when we started doing this, was way back in those early days, what would I have valued? What was I searching for? And a lot of it was just places to ask questions and get answers. There weren't a lot of help on how to work with the government, how to do a government contract, say, or how to negotiate with supply line, or how to make sure you had backup on supply line. You weren't sole sourced on something that could disappear. There's a lot of things that just happened that it would have been nice to have a sounding board in many cases. And in other cases, would have been nice to say, hey, can you spend a couple hours and help us get this and show me how to do this? And instead of having to hire more people or go through the process of all that, you may just need somebody just for a couple weeks.
Yeah, again, my background's totally different from Kenneth's, but as an active duty Air Force contracting officer, I was able to see a lot of different companies, and you get to see some common denominators of threads that these entrepreneurs are, we're negotiating $5, $10, $15, $20 million contracts, but they clearly have gaps that they don't even see, that are crystal clear when you're on the other side of the negotiating table. So I was able to see some of the gaps on the other side, the government side, and then once we teamed up, being able to provide those kind of services to fill those gaps. And I think in a lot of ways, from a Scott McCallum management perspective, we are the ultimate gap fillers. We joked at one point that we could have called it Got a Guy Consulting, because we got guys that can do it. If your gap is in engineering, we have engineers of all types. If your gap is federal procurement, I did that for 20 years. If your gap is product market fit, Kenneth has done that with 10 plus companies. So we literally have seen the gambit of hundreds, if not thousands, of companies that we understand their challenges, and while they're all unique per se, they often fit a common denominator. It's personnel, it's process, it's one thing or the other, but we think we have enough experience between the two of us to fill that gap and add value to the company.
And sometimes they don't even know what they need.
Oh, 100%.
They misunderstand. They said, I need a BD guy. Okay, what does that mean? Let's dig into that. And instead of just going out there and doing a search and getting a BD guy and picking one and running it, especially as a small company, what you really need is you need to start establishing your BD efforts, your BD group. So you need somebody that's developmental on this side as well as out facing the customer. And not everybody does that role. And so
Justin, I 100% agree. I think I have that conversation amongst my peers as well, is that especially with my generation, that so many people are trying to pick up the mantle to do every single job, and it's just like we're just not called to do that. So it is important to have, and especially for me, I love having conversations with those that are a little bit more educated and have that experience over. That way we can serve as a resource, and then even if we are building horizontally, or if there is somebody that is able to put you in a position, you're at least able to learn and educate yourself to that space. So it seems like a lot of space, whether between the management side and or just even the investment side, it seems like a lot of this is also a form of mentorship for y'all. I guess let me ask and transition that over into the question of like, what kind of founders do you guys enjoy working with the most?
We have a no asshole rule.
100% no asshole.
So it's people who want to engage and be open with us as much as we want to be open with them. You know, so much of it is sharing the realistic things that are happening around your company, as opposed to just telling me a rosy story. No, I want to know what's keeping you up at night. What is the problem? Show me your whole cash flow situation. Show me what your contracts are. Show me what you signed up for. And you know, as an investor, many times you invest in a company and then the company wants you to always see the best picture. I don't really want to see the best picture. I want to be productive. I want to help you get to where we're going. I don't need just a rosy picture every time I talk to you. What I need is what's going on. And I think that's probably
that's
one
a
of the
huge
hardest
part
thing
of
for
it.
people to do is.
Yeah, life is simple, right? At the Academy, Air Force Academy, we have our core values of integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. I think that's what we're looking for in our founders: the integrity to say that your baby is not the cutest baby on the face of the earth, the commitment of service before self, that you're going to do what's necessary because entrepreneurship is hard, and you're going to do these things. It's not a 9-to-5 job. And then excellence in all you do. Your product or service has to be done with deliberate excellence at all times. And I think that's what we're looking for.
That's awesome. And I guess in closing, I'll say that going back to y'all's mission, which is acceleration and innovation, what problems do you think that Scott McCallum can solve for his members in real time?
I think the biggest is the gap fill. Every company, again, business is business to a point, but every company is unique in what elements and isms that they have. And so we can get in uniquely because we've been operators and are operators, and we can see things. So I think part of it is the ability to be open and honest with us so we can see what your problem is. Then once we find that gap, we are pretty darn good at filling that gap, that critical gap or gaps that you may have to help you advance. And in entrepreneurship, once you solve problem A, then you immediately jump to problem B, and you can believe problem C, D, and E are following behind it. But you've got to solve for A first, and then we can then go to the next. But it is an endless set of problems that will never solve completely. Every day is different, every human's different, but we're pretty good at diagnosing the problem, fixing the problem, and moving on, and also incorporating the necessary process fixes to ensure that the problem doesn't come back and bite us again down the road.
Yep. And you know, as an entrepreneur, one of the first things you got to start to realize, especially as a news entrepreneur, is you're not going to bat 1,000.
Yeah.
You're not going to win every situation. So the real test is how are you handling and rolling when something doesn't go to plan, or when you are bidding against somebody, maybe you lose the bid. All right. Well, take a look at it. Let's go dissect it. Let's figure out why we lost, and maybe no reason we couldn't.
Right.
You know, but I think that's one of the hardest things, and where most people as entrepreneurs give up is the first time that the plan goes off course, or something hits them square in between the eyes. They just want to fold up shop, and you just can't do that if you're going to live this life. It's a very rewarding life. And over the course of 10 years, you're going to have a lot of success, but you're also going to have a lot of bumps along the way.
Absolutely. Well, one other thing I'm going to add on that is when you'd asked the question earlier about the type of people we look for. One of the reasons we click, and we clicked from the very beginning, was our shared background in sports. And that's what Kenneth was just talking about. Kenneth in baseball, me in football. Not only do we have the no asshole rule, but we also, when problems happen, to Kenneth's point, they're going to happen every day. How do you react to those problems? What is your EQ or emotional quotient, emotional intelligence to respond to a problem and ensure that we have the right mindset to not only identify the issues and the true elements of the problem, because then you can solve it. And so we've seen people who, as soon as stress happens, they just freak out. And you can't really operate that way because you're not logical, you're not rational. But our shared background in athletics, it has got us to the point when something happens, we're like, all right, what do we do now?
Yeah, when's the next game?
Right, that sucked, but what do we do
You know,
next?
you go out, have a drink, you get
Yep.
wake up the next morning, get in front of the whiteboard, and figure out the problem. And
Absolutely.
you can't give up I think that's the biggest thing is you've got to have the drive and the vision to believe in yourself and the team you have around you, because it's not just you. There is no one-man operation out there. There's always people that you've got coming and going, and I think helping decide what your inner circle looks like is a big choice for an entrepreneur as well as they start growing. You want people that are going to help you get all the way down that path, not, oh, they filled a gap for 5 minutes.
Right.
I love that. I was giving a second to breathe. And I guess in closing, for the both of you, my question would be, to that junior, that associate level entrepreneur that's getting ready to get started and that needs to come to SMA, what would you tell them is the reason that y'all are the people to have them come reach out to?
And I think, different people will click. There's different levels of how you're going to work together and stuff. But when you come talk to us and sit down to us, this is who you get. It's two guys who want to join the team, be part of the team. We want success. We're helping to drive for success. And what we bring is not just an investment if you need it, but also that talent, that experience, that network of people, an ecosystem, if you would, of, you're not alone in this battle. Oh my God, how do I do a project management? We got guys. Like Jamie said earlier, we got guys. What do you need? So.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing is we want to be team integrated into your team. We often joke that the only people who should care for consultants are known as the IRS, because we want that feel that we're an integrated part of the team, and it's a seamless transition. And so being able to jump in, be accepted as part of the team, and high five real quick and then get down to business is really how we like to do it as quickly as possible. And we've been blessed today to be able to do that.
And I think when we talk to a lot of the M&A market guys out there, they can make an investment, but they don't have the time or the, even the drive to go be part of your team and help you get there. They're just money. And we're more of the tip of the spear.
Right.
It's not just, as you put it, dumb money. We want to be smart money. We want to be engaged money that's there with you along the journey.